right. Well, we'll give everybody a few minutes to pop in and join us. Love the image, Meg. Is this your dog by chance or just a
Well,
dog?
it's my grand dog. It's the dog who raised my grandchildren. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, I occasionally get pictures like that sent to us at daycare
Uh-huh.
saying, yep, clearly my dog needs to come to daycare.
Exactly, exactly. But yeah, he just looks too comfy. He looks too happy. This dog was in 7 different homes by the time he was 2, and then my son and daughter-in-law adopted him. And
Wow.
yeah, yeah, great turnaround. Again, using a lot of flower essences, and it's just a beautiful turnaround within just a few months. So yeah, it was wonderful.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, it's I know a lot of times when we see those rescue dogs or we don't or we change in our home lifestyle. I know I just talked with somebody and I referred them to your website. Their 10-year-old Cane Corso is all of a sudden chewing
Mm,
door frames and things in the house. But
I.
they just moved into a new home.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So that
uh-huh.
change in environment.
Absolutely. They have to feel safe in their environment. They have to know it and feel safe. And that, yeah, and I've got another example of a pit mix that went through the same thing literally overnight, changed behavior, and all of a sudden had separation anxiety, which it had never had before. So, and I've got
Wow.
that story in the slides too.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah. And I was thinking like, so we just saw it. We've been seeing each other again over the last couple of years. But I was trying to think it was pre-COVID when we originally met.
I believe so. And I can't even remember where. Do you remember where?
I'm pretty
Was
sure.
it, was
Yeah.
it, was it Well, it could have been an animal care, could have been APDT, could have been, I don't know.
It was at APDT, and I just can't even remember which location it was.
Oh, do you think it
Memphis,
was
maybe?
Virginia? Was it Virginia, the like 10 years ago? Was it that
Yes.
long?
Yeah.
Yes, yes, Virginia. Yeah. I was super
Yes, it was
lucky.
that one. Yes.
Yep, yeah.
The original Virginia.
And I did present a lecture there. It was
Yeah.
fabulous. Yeah, really, really turned out wonderful. Yeah,
Yeah. I think that was the one Ian Dunbar brought you in through the foundation, if I remember correctly.
I believe so. I believe so. Yeah, yeah. Ian. Ah.
You were considered so alternative back then.
Oh, I know, and that's why I say they took a risk, presenting me. And here's the brag: I had the highest, where they've got center stage, right? But I had the next highest audience,
Oh, for
population
sure.
wise. Yeah, people want this. People want to try something natural, and if we have to go to chemicals later, it has to happen. But flower essences and homeopathy really work. And it's experiential. We have to experience it in order to see it work.
No,
Mm-hmm.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Well, I see everybody starting to clock in here. We always start off our presentations with tell us where you're from. It's always fun. So in the chats, we always like to know where everyone's chiming in from. And even if you're watching the replay again, it just helps us to determine, is this the right time of day for our webinars? Are there different things that we should be looking at? So we really do appreciate you just letting us know where you're from. And if you are new to Dog Handler Academy, I'm Eve Molzon, the founder of Dog Handler Academy. Every month we try and bring you informative webinars on various topics. Also, if there's a specific topic that you would love us to find an expert in and present, shoot us a message on social media, Facebook. You can email us at contact@doghandleracademy.com. Again, we'd always love to hear from anyone who is looking for information on a topic. I travel to 8 different seminars a year, listening to other speakers and presenting myself. So if there's an expert in something, I can typically find them. And Speaking of experts, without further ado, I would love to introduce you to Miss Meg Harrison. I met her, as we just found out, about 10 years ago, amazingly enough, at a conference. And she was considered an alternative speaker at this conference, but let me tell you, in my mind, she is very mainstream. I have lived in the alternative homeopathic world for a long time because unfortunately, I am allergic to almost all the lovely man-made medications, including epidurals, anesthesia, and antibiotics. So yay me, which makes me learn and live and breathe alternatives, not only as a tool when I am sick. Ooh, I am going in and out, Kelly. So I will pop off when I introduce Meg, and then I'll pop back in. But also just the fact of preventative stuff. So knowing when I feel a sniffle coming on and doing things along those lines. So without further ado, Miss Meg, give us a little lowdown. How did you get into this type of work? And tell us a little bit about BlackWing Farms.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Hi, everybody. I am so excited to be here, and I want to thank Eve and Caitlin for holding my hand, getting me this far. And yes, okay, so flower essences are the original homeopathic remedy. They are literally, okay, a lot of us are familiar with Dr. Bach's rescue remedy, and that's where I started. And I started literally 50 years ago, maybe 54 years ago now, with flower essences and homeopathy. And I used it for myself, my boyfriend, my family, and we actually used it on teenage alcoholics because we could not make an emotional breakthrough with those kids. So we used this with them. And then I had a horrible horseback riding accident in 1990, and it was bad. And I came back to the barn 45 minutes later after my horse arrived, and she was giving the horse rescue remedy. And I said, well, I use that. And she goes, so does my horse. And so that's what just pivoted my entire life. I just took a complete 180 and went in a totally new direction. And I then was obsessed with helping animals. And you know, animals have a difficult time. They have difficult emotions. They have difficulty adapting so much of the time. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to ease that adaptation. And so, yeah, that's how I got started. And then I started blending. I had a beautiful team that would allow me to blend different flowers and then come back and see if the horse was any better. I worked with veterinarians, farriers, etc. Well, what happened was, as I was working, I was at a racehorse barn, and the horses were fabulous and winning and really being taken care of very, very well. No whips, etc. But what happened was the guard dogs were super friendly and in the barn, and the cats, the feral fourth generation feral cats, were coming down out of the hayloft and being friendly with all the visitors. So it was kind of like, you know, I think we're on to something, because all I was doing was spraying it in the air. So again, I know a lot of people here today are trainers. They might have their own facilities, uh, day shelters, you know, long-term shelters. And there's no wrong way to use an essence that I have found. We can sprinkle the floor, we can spritz the air. We work with feral dogs all the time and feral cats. And so we can just spritz the air. Captured Mustangs, same thing. They don't want to be touched, and often they won't eat or drink for days. So we can't do that. So we just literally spray the ground, literally spray the ground. So yeah, that's absolutely amazing. And I'm just going to jump right into it because I see that everybody's here, and I believe that what we're going to talk about today are the difficult animals in our life. And this again is Shorty Boy, same one. That's my son. And Shorty Boy has more personality than my first husband. Please forgive me for that, but it's true. Shorty Boy came into my son's life. He had been in 7 homes already and relinquished. So, and yeah, and so Shorty Boy had problems adjusting. He had problems with me. My daughter-in-law took off the collar and leash when they first arrived, and Shorty Boy started to growl at me like, oh no, this is not number 8. I am not staying with this woman. if you've taken off my collar and leash, this is not my home. And so, but Shorty Boy literally raised my 2 grandchildren, an amazing dog, thanks to a formula that I did fashion after rescue remedy. We call it drama trauma. And again, being able to do all the field research that I have been able to do is absolutely fantastic. And then we can fast forward into natural disasters and hundreds, literally thousands. I was at Katrina for 6 months after the storm. So, dealing and helping there. I'm these remedies are in many shelters right now, et cetera. So here's the deal. Here's the skinny, is that this is my premise. Of course, we're dealing with animal intelligence. We're dealing with an invisible intelligence. And then we have evidence of plant intelligence. Plant intelligence means, the plants know where to grow, when to grow, and they serve a purpose. And the purpose might be as a companion plant or something like that in your garden. But to me, the plant literally tells us what it's good for. So I hope that makes sense. A lot of times, like if we have poison ivy or poison oak, the antidote plant is right there growing very close. So that's one example. Another example, again, is post-Katrina. The first flower to bloom, because I was looking, the first flower to bloom post-Katrina was passion flower. No, excuse me, not passion flower. It was angel's trumpet. Angel's trumpet. Highly poisonous. Highly poisonous. But it's for knowing our best, not our worst. So again, the plants know where to grow, when to grow. I think I've got an example of mimulus also, which is for fear, known fears, and it's a survival plant, and it's beautiful for shelter animals. And when I say shelter animals, I mean any group of dogs or any group of cats. They don't necessarily have to be, of course, in a shelter, and they don't have to be in a group. We can have individuals that are going to benefit as a result. So here it is. Flower essence remedies improve behavior. We've got the crowning achievement. We have the property. We have something that is going to relieve pain or correct a disorder. I'm not going to talk about anything physical. I'm only talking about mental and emotional. And that when I say pain, I mean confusion or fear or unhappiness. We were just talking about happiness, unhappiness. It makes an animal, a dog, cat, horse, anybody that's domesticated or not, difficult to adapt and live with us. So we've been used also on wild animals only when they need to come in and get help from humans. That's when it's very, very important that they're able to have a cooperative relationship, a trusting cooperative relationship. So, and we'll get to some of the flowers and exactly what they're used for. So again, to improve behavior. And there's many, many different forms and different definitions of behavior. These came straight out of the dictionary. And I think every person that's got a dog has their own specific definition of behavior.
I think that's phenomenal because it is one of those pieces that even if we think back to our childhood, right? Like, is there a certain smell that just elicits warmth and comfort for us? I always think of like freshly baked cinnamon rolls, right? Out of the oven.
Yes.
Like
yes.
that just elicits, warmth and compassion and softness to me.
I completely agree. And that's the aroma side of it. And you're right, it does literally trigger an emotion because triggers can be positive. It can trigger an emotion or a memory. And I think the other cool thing is when we do it in a homeopathic form, just flower water. I mean, this is it. This is I think that's impatience. and which is great for patience, restlessness, irritability, etc. And that's a flower essence right there. I think what happens is that when we get the right flower, the body recognizes what it needs. Now that's going pretty deep. That's going beyond homeopathy. But I really believe that. It's like CBD. Let's talk about it because CBD is very popular and it's a wonderful thing as a broad spectrum anti-inflammatory. CBD is wonderful. Well, what happens is the cannabinoids in our bodies recognize the CBD and work together synergistically. I know, I hope I'm not going too far out, but you understand it's like I know I'm talking to dog people and horse and cat people, and that when we're aligned with those animals, we're totally aligned and increasing and improving our relationship. I do believe it's the same thing with flowers. I believe everything has a purpose, and it's up to me and you to discover what it is.
No, absolutely. And I look at it, it's no different than stepping out onto the grass, right?
Mhm.
Feeling the energy, grounding yourself, right? The
Mhm.
emotional um, energy that's running through the earth. I mean, it's running through the plants, it's running through the trees, it's all of those things. So it is all combined.
It is. And they tell us exactly what they're here for. And I love that you said trees because I love oak. I use the oak leaf in formulas, and I make an essence out of the oak leaf. Well, oak trees are absolutely gorgeous and strong and big and broad, and they protect everybody. And they're just gorgeous right up until the day they topple over. And we use oak essence for the people who are working to exhaustion, who just keep going and going and going and don't realize that because they've got a job to protect everybody and take care of everybody, and they keep going right up until they topple over. That's oak essence. So if that's the personality, go grab an oak leaf, soak it in water, sit it in the sun, and there's your essence. Yeah, so I love that. Pine needles are for standing tall where you're planted. So again, sometimes we go to,
Love it. Love
yeah,
that.
we go to a shelter, or we go and my boss is really domineering, or the owners just aren't listening. I have to stand tall. I have to stand tall, even though I'm only 5 foot, but I stand tall and in my place because this is where I'm planted. We all know this, stay rooted, but if you're a dog park, remember to bend your knees.
Valid.
Right, exactly. So, behavior again, a mentally guided emotion, action, response, or reaction. And so, again, it's about surviving and thriving in the immediate environment. That's what's so important to me is, we can just get along, we can survive, but I want them to thrive. And that's why it works so well too with strangers. So again, in a setting, whether it's a doggy daycare or a pet sitter or a dog walker, et cetera, or a rescue effort, we need them to trust strangers. And so that's very important. I think y'all have access to these slides afterwards. So I'm not a slide reader, but I just want you to know how simple it is. This is passion flower. This is a beautiful remedy, and just gorgeous. And so my granddaughter proves you can, you're never too young. So we were talking earlier about this too, is the dogs that, and we're going to go into a couple of case studies here, not too deep, but I mean, not taking too much time. So Ricochet, I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He's a very famous surf dog. And he was fourth generation companion litter, and he could not be a companion dog. He was so distracted, whether it was by the waves or a bird or a squirrel or whatever. He could not stay with his person. And his owner surfed right here in San Diego. And his owner surfed. And so one day she took him out, he took to surfing. Well, this is a young man, a quadriplegic, and the owner got worried because Ricochet jumped right on the surfboard with this kid and kept him balanced. Kept him balanced. See, both legs on one side and then hind legs on the other. He also will straddle. But Ricochet found his calling. It was not to be a companion dog. It was to be a surf dog. Okay, so jump over to the right-hand screen. Now, this pit mix was wonderful. And I think that Eve mentioned something before about all of a sudden overnight, quote, bad behavior. I call it difficult, but maladapted, whatever we want to choose. But this female pit all of a sudden had horrible separation anxiety. And the owner did not know why. And she knew she had some challenges when she adopted the dog, but she had no idea. And this dog flipped overnight. And I'm sorry to say that the woman had a miscarriage. And the dog was going nuts trying to get to her and take care of her. And so, and then she was able to figure this out. We used some stuff, some remedies for the separation anxiety, and it was beautiful. And now, and then she got pregnant again, and there's the pit's mistress right there. So yeah,
Lovely
this again.
stories.
Thank
Lovely
you,
stories.
thank you. Yeah, and so and I want to, not punish the behavior, but I want to go, what the heck, what did I do wrong? Usually that's my first go-to. What did I do wrong? But so this is Dr. Bach from the 30s, and I love and adore him. He, of course, brought this to the forefront for all of us, and especially with the rescue remedy, which is very famous. But what I found was that rescue remedy did not work 100% of the time for my animals. And I had to have that. I was a horse trainer for many, many years. And if you've got 1,400 pounds under you that doesn't trust you, or again, working with difficult dogs, we need to know that we can, quote, predict the behaviors. So, and when we have at any rate, I'm preaching the choir. I know that you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. So again, why do they, or how, or what, makes them work so effectively for us? And it's because it goes to the root cause of the emotional problem. Learning, if we've learned a bad habit or a bad behavior, learning is truly just this simple. Learning is an experience coupled with an emotion. Period. That's it. Now, for you and I, this could be a thunderstorm last night, or it could be, DNA going back hundreds of years. So, but that's as simple as it is. That's it. That's the easiest explanation of a learned behavior. It's the memory of an experience coupled with an emotion. And that's why we're always so happy. And you mentioned Ian Dunbar before we got on, and Ian does the happy dance backwards, and it works. I really love that happy dance backwards. So this is some of my kids that I've helped, and the slaughterhouse rescues. So that's, where is this? The Gentle Barn in California, and the bird who self-mutilated and was too loud for the house got chilled out with flower essences. What's the other? Oh my God, Zoe on the right side. Zoe, the mini hedgehog, was in a shelter in Arizona for 7 months. And I was working on the dogs. And then this guy said, please, you've got to come meet Zoe. I really love her. She is completely shut down. She won't let anybody touch her. And so the great thing was that all we did was we missed on the outside of the cage. We didn't intrude or anything. We just misted outside of Zoe's cage, and someone was able to put their hand in without being bit, and Zoe climbed up into her hand. So as a behaviorist, I said, okay, I want to see something. I want to see that the limbic system is working. I want to see that the mind is working. I want to see some kind of action in the body or in the mouth, right? A chew, a lick, a yawn, something like that. And here's what I got. She smiled at me. So yeah, so the mini hedgehog. And I was talking about the F5 tornado. The owner actually watched two of her dogs disappear into the funnel and disappeared. She found them days later, all cut up and scraped, lots of scratches and scrapes. And after that was so afraid of wind. That was the trigger for the dog, was the wind, and would just freak out. She bought them both igloos where they could go hide, etc. Well, this is the dog after 2 months on flower essences. Same dog, same dog. The abused, this was a blind veal calf, all grown up, that had been rescued. And we'll talk about Boyo, the German Shepherd, and again, failure to thrive. Orphans, doesn't matter. Orphans, just everyone can be helped. And if they're not helped, then there is something so physical going on that it's not mental or emotional. This is a great book, The Tao of Equus. It's old now, but what she talks about here is the stress hormones and how, remember when I was talking about emotion and memory, emotion and an experience, that when these stress hormones are released, they have a dire effect on the cerebral cortex, which governs behavior and impulse control. We could do a whole day on impulse control, huh? So that's, but again, so much of the time, it's not their fault. It's not their fault. But what can we do about it? And so for impulse control, impatience. Remember when I was talking about restlessness and irritability, et cetera? Impatience is wonderful for that. Mimulus, dandelion, as a matter of fact, dandelion, gorse. There's so many different flowers that can help. But again, it's not their fault. This can also happen with these stress hormones from, and I hate to say it, but I will, bad food that's not healthy, that stresses them more than nourishes them. Water that's withheld, like horses that have those automatic waters where they have to push their nose down on a device and wait for the water to fill up and then drink. What did my vet say? They're in a constant state of fluctuating dehydration. That's got to stress out the body. So again, not their fault. This Dr. Vanderkolk, wow, I made this slide like maybe 15 years ago. And this was a mix from a shelter in New York City and a beautiful, high-end, super expensive shelter. And they thought they were doing the right thing by having a filtration system that was not okay for dogs. There was no fresh air circulating. There were no new scents coming in. And this was all that they had from the outside world, were these little cage holes. And I didn't put that up there. They had that up there. Please do not put fingers in cage hole. So yeah, so about, again, the memory, the imprint, and again, we thank God we're talking about post-traumatic stress so much, which is good. At the end, we're going to talk about compassion fatigue, which is so up our alley as pet parents and pet handlers and people who make their living with pets, or who just want to take care of them. I just finished a summit on behavioral euthanasia, and it was, I'm so sorry, but it is a reality. And so I gotta get them help before it gets too far. And I know you all feel the exact same way about that. So this is a dog, another case study here. This is a dog up at a sanctuary in Utah. And the trainers called and said, I don't know what you've got, but here's a dog with severe thunderstorm anxiety. Not any other loud noises. It was just thunderstorms. We talked about wind, etc., tornadoes. But this dog, and it could start 1 to 3 days before a storm would arrive, and this dog would start with these behaviors. So these are the essences that we used, and again, mixed and then overnighted a package to them. And Star of Bethlehem, which is a fantastic essence. It's the only one I took for myself when I did go to rescue at Katrina. So a Star of Bethlehem is for emotional shock. And it was, I knew that I would need that because I would have to get over my emotional shock of the day, get a good night's sleep, wake up refreshed, ready to go. So, and Star Tulip is for grounding and self-control. We talked about impulse control. Star Tulip is wonderful for that. Cherry Plum. Cherry Plum is one of Bach's, and it is for nervousness or fear aggression. Rock Rose, literally for feeling terrorized. Like, I don't know what to do. I cannot cope, just like this dog. I believe his name was Enzo. So after he got the formula, after he got the flowers, this is the same exact dog, unaffected by the thunder. Because if anybody's been to Utah, you know you can have days of thunder before the rain starts. But again, it was just within hours. And nobody believed, not even the trainers who took these pictures, believed the difference in him. Yeah. So yeah, super, super happy about that. Super happy. And here's another one. Here's Boyo. That's what I call him because, I don't think the statute of limitations is over for this one. But this is a dog that I went to go do a behavioral assessment on. And when I walked in, I did not know all the details. And all the details were that they had used a shock collar and a prong collar and had introduced a third dog into the house. So all of these things, and again, going back, and he wasn't an easy dog to begin with. He was a rescue from Mexico, I believe. And so he was not an easy dog to begin with, but here he is. And this is when I show up. And he was nervous, but he was giving me every signal in the world. Do not come any closer. Do not. I don't know who you are. I really don't want to act out from my fear, but I will. So this is what I did learn about the dog. Isolates, avoids eye contact, stares without blinking, which means without thinking, dislikes doorways, hovers the walls, and no longer responds to simple requests. I can circle back to the prong collar and the shock collar on that one. But the hovers the walls and dislikes doorways, I have found so much of the time that puppy mill dogs are like that too. I don't know if anybody else can relate, if anybody else has met any, but in the beginning, yeah, what, Eve? Go ahead.
Yeah, I
What?
was gonna say I'm helping out with a bunch of the Ridgeland Farm 1200
Mm,
beagles. So,
mm,
'cause I'm in
mm-hmm.
Wisconsin. So most definitely I will be sharing lots of your
Yes,
products with them.
yes. And the other thing is because they don't know, they go and they pee on every corner, every wall, everything. They don't know. Um,
No.
yeah, I've helped with beagle rescues also in Asia too,
Mm.
meat dogs from Asia. And some of them have never touched grass. They've
Oh yeah,
only
no. Yep.
been in
Yeah,
cages.
these dogs know nothing but cages.
Yes,
A crate is going to be a scary thing for them, but at the same
yes,
time, they have to have a safe space, and people,
yeah,
when they go to work, have to have a place for the dog to go, or where they somewhat know. So yeah, so they're really everybody that is taking these beagles really is following a protocol to make sure that I mean, some of the dogs only want to be in the crate, right? Like they're just so
yes,
terrified.
yes, yes,
And then the flip side, several of them are like, I'm not sure I want to go back in that thing that I've just spent however many years in. So yeah, there's lots of protocols that are that the fosters and things are being introduced, and a lot of the rescues have said, we're taking applications, but we need to give these dogs some decompression time and have professionals work with these dogs
yes.
to get them to a point that being in a home environment isn't going to terrify them.
Yes, yes, yes. So we can go back to those previous remedies we just talked about. Star of
Yep.
Bethlehem. star tulip, all these things, impatience, because they do get so impatient and restless and frustrated, and so do we. So again, my favorite way of using any essence is to spray my own hands, rub them together, and then gently pet the body of the dog if it's safe. Now with Boyo here, Boy was not safe. He was giving me all the indications. Please just don't come any closer. Okay, this was Boy. So that's my favorite way to use it. And again, if you just anything within 5 to 10 to 15 feet away, the animals are going to get the help they need from the essences. So here he is. This is our initial meeting. And the 5 warning signs, everybody can see them, the fat lips, the eye, the whale eye, the worried brow, the ears are flat and unmoving. So when I just barely leaned in, I didn't even want to touch him, but I barely leaned in. That's when he lifted and kind of went to the side, and it was like, oh no, this is not good. This is not going to happen right. So, like I said, I gave you some of the background and then started the fence fighting. And when I say bullies, I think they were Rottweilers, but they were bully dogs. I mean, they were big, and I think they were Rottweilers, and everybody just screamed and yelled and shocked. And that's all I can say is, both sides of the fence. So there was, unable to stop him, no recall at all, because every time they called his name, he got zapped. So that's a tough
Sure. Yeah.
lesson.
So,
Go
I mean,
ahead.
so we have people that don't know how to use a tool. They're just trying to stop the situation from escalating. They're just compounding all that stress on this dog by just doing
Yep.
all the things that every trainer tells people not to do.
Exactly.
In so
Exactly.
many ways, right?
Yeah.
Like first let's remove the dog from the situational stressors, and then, let's work on how do we turn it around and create a positive out of situations, or at least
Right.
don't create a negative. Yeah, so they just kept adding more stress layers to this poor dog. So nope,
And
I
to
completely get
themselves.
it.
And
Hmm.
to themselves, right? And yeah, so yeah. And how did we become good trainers? Because we had difficult dogs or horses or cats, right? Okay.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah. So here he is, and this is the beauty of essences. And all I did was spray it in the air. I'll show you the formula in a minute, but all I did was spray it in the air. I didn't even spray it over him. I didn't want to startle him at all. I did it kind of to the side and behind my back. But you can see how he changes. This was within minutes, and I believe it was 7 or 8 minutes. I mean, I took this with my original cell phone. You can see the blurry edges around but he was on his mistress's bed, and that's where he was safe. So I never asked him to move. But you can see, look at those quiet eyes in the third picture, and the fat lips and the relaxation right there, the ear flopping, not pinned. And then I did get brave, and I offered my hand to him, and he put his paw on top, as German Shepherds love to do. So he put his paw on top of my hand. And then when I just laid there, I must have been there for maybe a minute or two. That's when he came and put his muzzle on the top of my hand. And it's not because it smelled good or anything else. It's because the essences had come into the environment and done their work. And so now you can see in the next to the last, bottom middle, he got distracted by his buddies outside. That is the most fabulous thing in the world, because he felt safe in his environment. Beginning, he did not feel safe at all. And now he felt safe enough to just barely turn his attention to something else. And then when he looked at me like that, well, I melted, of course, but when he looked at me like that with those soft, beautiful eyes, and just, big exhale, several of big exhales, beautiful. So there it is, 8 minutes, 8 minutes from start to finish. He gentian, which is a fabulous flower for matters of the heart. Like it hurts my feelings, quote unquote, when you yell at me. Arnica, everybody knows Arnica now because it's such a good sports cream. Well, it's for negative muscle memory. So it's for muscle bruising. And we all know that the heart is the biggest muscle. So that's beautiful. Gorse for despair and past hope. Mimulus for known fears and abuse. This Mimulus is fabulous for shelter dogs or animal control people, again, or people dealing with difficult dogs. And Lady Slipper for grounding post-conflict, because we want to bring everything down. So the new studies now, when I first started studying this stuff 30 years ago, adrenaline, they said adrenaline spikes within 20 minutes. They're now saying adrenaline can spike after an event for up to 30 days, still being released. Remember, as the memory comes back. So we've got the imprint of the memory. Anyway, so I hope you understand kind of where we're going with this, that we're just bringing everything down a notch and allowing the animals to chill and to not keep compounding all of that negativity. A couple minutes later, here he is in the kitchen. He walked down through two doorways, down a long hall, all by himself. He looks exhausted, doesn't he? He just looks, I mean, yeah. So this was just within minutes. So again, going back to the beagles, Beagle Freedom Project, or the meat dogs from Asia and Mexico, um, it's just wonderful what the flowers can accomplish in just a few minutes. So again, these slides are available for you, and these are some of the different remedies, like the Katrina. I had to make something very special for the Katrina animals because they were very special and they needed to be taken care of by strangers. And that's very important for us to realize, that when we first meet a dog, we're a stranger. I was a stranger to Boy. And, I'm just so lucky that he had the opportunity to learn to trust me. Loud noise phobias, insecure dominant behavior. There we go. Puppy mill adults. How much of that is, again, insecure dominant behavior? Whether, and we can talk about socialization, et cetera. But again, just giving them the chance to be the best that they can be, to feel safe in their environment. And if you're not sure whether your dog does feel safe, I have been told that dogs will not play unless they feel safe. So again, the F word, feelings. Do they feel safe? Do they feel safe with me? Do they trust me? Do they trust this relationship? So yeah, wow, you guys, this is, yeah. So let me just take a couple of minutes and talk about compassion fatigue, because this is something that I've studied now for about a year and a half. And it's compassion fatigue in our industry, animal welfare industry. And to some degree, I believe we are all affected. And if not now, we were or we will be. I don't think anybody goes through this type of empathetic work, whether we're a trainer, a groomer, anything. We try to establish, groomers and trainers, we establish a relationship with these animals. And when it doesn't go well, we suffer. It's just that simple. And here's who we are. And this is why it's so difficult for us to maintain 100% balance and mental health and emotional health. And it's very difficult, because what we bring to the table every single day is all of this stuff, including the tenacity and the competitiveness. I mean, it's true. I mean, that's who we are, and that's what keeps us going, is our strong personalities. But we're so compassionate and caring and generous, forgiving, tolerant, and honest. And that's got a toll too. It does. It's pretty exhausting to maintain day after day, and especially when we've fallen in love, as we as we tend to do with the animals that are in our charge. So again, the simple definitions of compassion fatigue: empathetic burnout and secondary traumatic stress. So secondary traumatic stress, and I'm not being flip about this, But this can happen to me at a farmer's market, at dog park, watching people walk their dogs, because I am witnessing some kind of trauma in another being, and I'm affected. I wished I wasn't. I wished I had my kryptonite cape or something like that to absolutely protect me and shield me, but I don't. And I'm better, and I've got a whole bunch of flowers that I do use, but there is still, no matter what, there is still a toll. And a lot of times it sneaks up on us, definitely sneaks up on us. So, with compassion fatigue, secondary traumatic stress, and burnout are two integral components of compassion fatigue. And we don't have to go completely down the scale. We have an 8-page, it's called the Companion's Guide to Compassion Fatigue. So it's for us, it's for you, me, professional layman, uh, anybody. And it does outline kind of how we get there and maybe the warning signs that we missed along the way. There are 18 warning signs that I have chosen and compiled from many different countries and studies, et cetera, a lot in the human healthcare industry. And I went ahead and studied those because we don't have as much information as I would like in our animal welfare world. It's really hard to gather information on this because, first of all, it's really hard to get the data, to get it consistent, and to get it honestly. And I don't mean people are dishonest, I just mean they don't know. I mean, I'm usually so far down the tube by the time I realize that I have cared so much about an animal that's not getting better or not being treated better. And I am so far down the tube already that I haven't seen it. I didn't see my slide, my slippery slide. So this beautiful companion's guide has the 18 warning signs, but it's also got what we can do in the meantime. So in the meantime, I mean, I talk about run away. If you need to get out, run away. Just don't, get out and take care of yourself. Self-care is so important. If we're over our heads, I do believe that things like running, yoga, surfing, swimming, whatever that takes, and again, because compassion fatigue, burnout, and secondary traumatic stress, they're all feelings. Again, the F word. It's feelings until they become a physical reality, whether it's due to depression or, again, it can get pretty bad, and the thinking can get really bad, and we tend to isolate. So I'm not going to go further into that, even though I've got a complete lecture on that, um, compassion fatigue. But please, the handout is absolutely beautiful and super informative, and kind of, if we find ourselves at level 5 or we're with in a shelter setting, that we used to call it 5 at 5. Just check in for 5 minutes at the end of your shift. Check in with everybody, or 10 at 10 in the
Beautiful.
morning, like who are we going to talk to, who are we going to work with? Yeah. So yeah. Yeah. So yeah,
No,
you got it.
that's exactly it. It's one of those where I think in the daycare environment, in the boarding environment, especially on the holidays, and or just what we're experiencing in our personal lives, it's we need to just make sure that we take everything in ourselves before we walk into the room with the animals, right?
Yes.
We need to kind of hold our emotions in a neutral status. Um, I talk to my staff a lot about that. Like, if you just had a fight with your significant other and you walk in my door,
Exactly.
I'll know. I'll know that you're off. I'll know that you're like harboring those feelings because the dogs will tell us,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
all, especially those afternoon people. Because the morning, like the dogs could be smooth, everybody's jiving, all is good. And then that one staffer will walk in, and the next thing you know, everybody starts getting barky. They're getting a little anxious. And I'll be like, all right, who's got issues at home? Somebody here is having issues at home because the dogs just changed and their status with us. So yeah, it is one of those things that
And
we,
again, like spraying your own hands and rubbing them together,
yeah,
because I call it an emotional room deodorizer. And some people, when the owners come in and we know they're stressed or they're late or whatever, many trainers and groomers, they spray the threshold of the door, and they have
absolutely.
noticed a physical difference. Animal control does the same thing. Horses being trailered, we spray the ramp, and all of a sudden the horse comes up and he's all jittery and high, and then all of a sudden he lowers his head and goes, "Oh, okay, I'll go in." Yeah. So that's as much as we need to do. Yeah.
Absolutely. I know there's a little metaphysical store near me, and she makes a bottle called Fuck Off Spray.
Oh
And,
my God, if only I
you
could.
know,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And a lot of our DHA clients received a cute little spray from that store, Calm It. And I think we didn't call it Karen, but we called it something else. But yeah,
Oh,
the different sprays that you can utilize, negative person leaves
oh,
your lobby and things like that. Like those are
yeah.
the things that have a direct effect. And I always tell people too, even if you don't feel like you can um, accept what we're telling you as information, right? Even if it's a placebo effect, boy, does it make you feel better when something transpires and you can just, little spritz, rub your hands, little
Right.
waif, like
Right.
just that movement of you feeling like you're cleansing that
Yes.
has an effect.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. And the cool thing is that there's no placebo effect in the animal world.
No, no, you are
No.
correct.
Yeah.
About as raw as it could possibly get. Isn't
Yeah.
that like
Yeah.
just ask a little kid, they'll tell you the truth because they don't know to
Yes,
lie yet.
exactly. Exactly. There's a primatologist, Dr. DeWall, and he wrote a book. It said something like, "Are we smart enough to know how smart animals are?" Fabulous
I
book
love
from this
it.
primatologist. Oh, it's just fabulous. Yeah, yes, I completely agree. And yeah, and so much of the time, even when so I've got shelter pictures of people who go, well, I really want the dog to pay attention to me, and he doesn't pay attention. We just sprayed him, and he's not paying attention to me. But the dog is sitting there looking up, making eye contact with the person. While they're still complaining, he doesn't focus on me. He's not looking at me. So it's called ships not seen phenomena. People can't see what
Right.
is right in front of them. Yeah. So
No, most definitely. Most definitely.
right.
Like I said, when we met 10 years ago and
Yeah. I think
the product,
APDT. Yeah.
yep, APDT, and I bought some of your items and I brought them back and my primary use is in my cat room.
Good.
Uh, be
Good.
because, especially those cats that I have to, that are diabetic that I have to give a shot to,
Mhm, mhm,
the ones that they're we have a relationship with our local hospitals, and a lot of times we board pets where the owner is having to be in the hospital in an emergency. So when that
mm,
pet walks through my door, they're stressed, right? Because their human was stressed, or maybe an ambulance came and took their human away from them. So
mhm,
just the whole situation before they even walk through my door
mhm,
has
mhm,
been upsetting and stressful for them. And
mhm,
so that's definitely something that we utilize a lot. I'll take it and we'll spray it in the little cat's area. I'll spray a towel and kind of set it in the little cubbies. And we do a lot of that stuff without physically touching the cat, using those essences just to get them a little bit more relaxed in our
beautiful,
environment.
beautiful. Great way to use
And
it.
yeah, to have them come in and give them that first 24 hours and they hardly ate, they didn't defecate in the litter box, it's and then using the essences and then watching, then okay, now we're calming in. We came out of the cubby, we drank some water, we defecated in the litter box. So all of those types of things have really been um, instrumental, I think,
Yes,
in allowing us to care for some of those pets that have been are a little more difficult.
yes.
And then same thing, we take care of the police dogs, and those dogs a lot of times have separation anxiety when they're not with their handlers because they're
Oh
with their
my
handlers
goodness, yes.
24/7.
Yes,
And
yes.
so we definitely, again, utilize that because I don't want to give them calming treats. I don't want to, give them anything, have them ingest anything because of, they're usually on a specific diet and all those things. Like I don't want to disrupt what they have going on as far as their working
Yes,
capabilities. And
yes.
so, yeah, yep, we use a lot of that uh, of your products in that sense to it. So, yeah,
Beautiful,
it's great.
beautiful, beautiful.
Those are just a
There's
couple of my case studies.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah, and I do love that application. And because so what I was talking about, is that they need to feel safe in the moment. And feeling
Hmm.
safe in the moment is going to give them calm focus. Going back to boy, going back to the dog in Utah, going back to all of them, the pig in the, the pig in the pond. But all of them to feel safe and calm in their own environment and focused on it. It's wonderful, beautiful. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much for this opportunity. Amazing.
Yes. No, I think, the more, um, I think as an industry, things are changing. And I think the more that people have tools in their toolbox, and that's really what
Mhm.
I look at it as,
Yes.
the products that you have um, are just another tool in my toolbox when
Yes.
I'm assessing an animal. And again, whether it's daycare, boarding, dogs, cats, ferrets,
Mhm.
potbelly pigs, whatever it
Yes.
is that I'm
Yeah.
caring for, right?
Yes.
And then
Yes.
on top of that, I also work in the rescue field. So things along those lines. And even when I'm doing a board and train on a dog that maybe has a bite history, and it's like, okay, well, I need to build relationship with this, and I want to do things um, as Lima based as humanly possible with these animals. So how can I do that? Well, certainly I have tools in my toolbox, right? And that's where utilizing all the tools in your toolbox to help you get to the outcome that you're looking for is
Yes.
so important.
Yes,
Um,
beautiful, beautiful. Yes, these remedies that I talked about today and with the cute names and going to Katrina and doing rescues and the, Asian meat dogs, we are so lucky we've been proven. I haven't proven it myself, but we've been proven on 24 different species. Rats,
nice.
birds, I mean, I've never had a pet rat, but I get, and they get fearful and they get aggressive. But so yeah,
Sure.
so 24 species, and we as of last year we've shipped to 39 countries worldwide.
Wow. That's
So
awesome.
yeah, so there's we're here, we're together, and yeah, tiny revolution. It's in a good way. Yeah, I call it a resolution,
Absolutely.
tiny resolution. Yeah, yeah,
There you go. There you go. Well,
yeah.
and I think that's one of the key things too is uh, any tools that you can have in your toolbox to help
Yes,
you, be better at your craft is invaluable, truly
absolutely,
invaluable. And
completely agree. Mhm.
that's the piece that I look at.
Me
It's
too.
just another tool in the toolbox.
Me
I
too.
actually am going. I also do in-home care for certain animals, and I have to go do a rabbit that the woman has only had for a few weeks. So yeah, let me tell you, I'll be using some of your products before I walk in that door because she wants me
Excellent,
to give that rabbit 30 minutes of playtime in her house, and so we're gonna see what that's all
excellent,
about.
excellent, excellent. And same thing. So with the little ones that anybody under 2 or 3 pounds, you just need one little spritz. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. No, it's great. It's great. Well, as you can see, Meg has her contact information on the bottom of this slide. All the slides will be in the replay of this, which you will all get tomorrow. Those of you that are watching live, those of you that are watching the recording again, give comments. Certainly reach out to Meg. And I will tell you that is also one of the reasons why I brought Meg on. Um, if you ever go to Super Zoo or Global Pet Expo or all of those things, you'll find people and companies that provide similarities, but I will tell you that I utilize Meg primarily for we've talked about where is she getting her flowers and her essences. You know, she's a wild child. She goes and she picks stuff herself and does all the things, and you know, as much as she possibly can, but also the communication. You have a question, you have a client, you have a scenario, and Meg is available to you. And I will tell you that customer service and getting answers and having a human as part of the tool in the toolbox is just as important as the product. So certainly reach out to Meg. She's got her email address, her phone number. She's easy to order from at blackwingfarms.com. And I greatly appreciate, Meg, you taking the time out to enhance all of our tools and our toolboxes and to share your knowledge, and your products have truly been lifesavers in animals across the globe, which is brilliant.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Eve. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate being here today. Thank you.
Absolutely. And for those of you that have additional questions or comments, you can certainly, again, reach out to Meg directly, or if you need any information from us at doghandleracademy.com, you can certainly find us there. We will have more webinars coming up. If you are attending the Pet Boarding and Daycare Expo West in a few weeks in Phoenix, Arizona, I will see you all there. So without further ado, thank you, everyone. Have a fabulous evening.